but he still died for us. So when you think about that level of commitment, this quote comes to mind. Commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left. You know how it is. In the beginning, you excited, you
New Year's
committed.
resolutions.
New Year's resolutions, new marriage, you just vowed, you just committed to forever. And it's exciting. But when that excitement wears off, how committed are you?
Yeah.
Are you still committed? Like, am I still going to get up and work out when I don't feel like it, when I'm sick, you know? And so I feel like it's in those moments that really define your level of commitment.
Yeah.
We still do. We still do. We still do. We still do after all this time at the altar. I alter my mind and vow to God I love you till he make his return. The rain should be the least of your concern. Under God's umbrella, I promise to provide and preserve his word and to serve your mind and spirit. Let me drive the boat. I promise I'ma steer it. The devil cannot get near it. You'll know this soon as you hear it. You need me, I need you. Even after the altar, we still do.
Welcome back to another episode of We Still Do. We are
Yes.
so excited that you
Yes.
decided to click on this video and join us today. And I believe that we have something for you. So please stick around. But first, if you haven't, please like and subscribe. Share this with anyone that you believe could benefit from it. Listen, we are all about helping you thrive after the altar here at We Still Do. So whether you're newlyweds or decades in, We Still Do is for you. We have something for you.
Yes.
Yes. So we're your hosts. My name's Geraldine.
I'm Jermaine.
My handsome husband.
Yes.
And yeah, what's going on, honey? How you feeling today?
I feel good. Church was good. I feel a little drained physically, but I feel good. How you doing?
That's good. I feel good. Service was really good this morning. There was this weight of God's presence that was undeniable. Like I couldn't even stand in it. So it was really good, and it was needed. I felt like, just to be able to cry out before the Lord. And so there's a refreshing that comes with that, you know. But I do feel drained as well, and I just feel like this last week we went through a lot. You were sick, you gave it to me. And then I don't know, I just feel like it's been a lot of spiritual warfare happening. Like, that was physically, right? We were dealing with sickness and things like that. But I really believe, in just talking to many people, that there is like, the enemy is trying to wear us out and like weary the saints right now. There's a lot going on. And so I kind of felt the weight of that. But this morning it was like, okay, Lord, I'm bringing it all to you. So I feel refreshed.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
So we got a very simple topic, but very deep and foundational at the same time.
Yeah.
And if people took serious what we're going to talk about today, we would have a lot more healthier relationships, and we would have a lot more positive marital statistics. So before we jump into this topic of commitment, I want you to share just a little bit, like, why is this so important right now?
I believe that it's foundational. Like you were saying, if you look at the statistics for marriage, it literally boils down to this simple thing: a lack of commitment. Infidelity is one of the number one reasons for divorce. So obviously there's a lack of commitment there. But I believe that, like you said, it's foundational, but not only foundational, it's a pillar of marriage, like commitment.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about this a little bit, of just like how, how commitment and trust are like load-bearing walls to a house, you know, that holds the marriage together. And so you need both in a marriage.
Yeah. And so even when we think about this idea of commitment, one of the things that I think are necessary to address is, when we talk about commitment, there is the definition of it, which is to like commit to something. But I think oftentimes we have to address, what are we committing to? When we talk about committing to ourselves, committing to our spouse, like, what are we committing to? And I think for us, one of the things that we commit to first and foremost is our relationship with God.
Yeah.
our relationship with Christ, because there is this perspective that we have that Christ helps us in moments where we are stubborn or hard-hearted. And I think first and foremost, being committed to our relationship with Christ and just his way of navigating through this life, or this way that he wants us to live as disciples, I think it's important to first be able to commit to Christ. And then after that, this commitment to you. Because we talked in a previous episode about the difference between covenant and contract.
Yeah.
Like, contract is, this is yours, meaning like something material, and covenant is, I am yours.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about commitment has to be it has to be a commitment to a person, a commitment to you, a commitment to a relationship. And so I think oftentimes when we get in those moments where we have like a difficulty of I don't know, like arguments, when we have like differing opinions, oftentimes like those moments trump the actual commitment. And so it changes at times. And so, yeah, like, I think knowing first who you're committed to and what you're committed to, I think that like puts you back into alignment with what your focus is going to be.
I think that's good, because you mentioned being committed to Christ first. And obviously we know that God is a God of order, but in being committed to Christ, now there is this moral standard in which you operate from. And so if you are committed to Christ, then it will be easier for you to commit to me based on his biblical principles and what it is that he has said. And so you think of, the scripture that we love in Ephesians 5 of husbands, love your wife like Christ loved the church. And when you think about that, he gave himself up to the point of death. Like, that's how committed he was to us. And in Romans 5, it tells us that yet while we were sinners, he died for us.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything that we earned, anything we did to deserve it. We were lost and broken and in need of a savior for sure. But it shows that he remained faithful to the call and to be committed to us, saving us and redeeming our lives. And so if you're supposed to love me in such a way to be committed to the point of death, which is something that we say in our vows a lot, but again, it's this understanding of commitment, because if infidelity is the number one reason why we are seeing divorce, then there is a lack of commitment. I mean, there's a disconnect between what we're committing to and what we actually live out. And so I think commitment is a daily decision that we have to make.
Yeah, it is. And I think you brought up a great point on what commitment looks like. Commitment doesn't mean like I'm all in, I'm making these everyday action steps to show you that I love you, to show you that I'm in it when things are going right.
That's good.
I think when we talk about commitment, in the moments where it's difficult to commit are the times where not only is it best to rely on Christ in those moments, because if we leave ourselves over to those particular decisions, like, and we allow them to fester up, it starts to become like those moments become the lens through which we view our partner. Yeah. So if, for example, if me and you are having a conversation about the kids and we have differing opinions about how we raise our kids or whatever, and if we are like if we stay in that moment of like, okay, now it's more than just agree to disagree, but I don't like the way you parent. Obviously, just using this as an example, like if you don't like the way I parent, like how you see me as a parent will start to change how you see me as a person. And so if the way you see me as a person isn't given over to Christ in prayer, then you'll start to view me as the very thing you're starting to dislike. And so when we are talking about like commitment, the way Christ shows us commitment, and really like God, it's this unconditional love. So it's not based on how you treat me, because
Yeah.
oftentimes in marriage it's like tit for tat. Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna do this for you because you did this for me, or because you're loving me the right way, I feel obligated. And then that's where we go back to contractual. Contractual is like, it's equal.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about commitment, commitment is, no, like, the way I'm showing up in this relationship is based off of my decision till death do us part. Like, because that is the decision, then I'm going to live out that way. And not only that, but I don't want to be miserable doing it.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times, a lot of times people get in these moments and these decisions, and they simply they don't enjoy their marriage. And so that's one of the things I think that we made a priority in our relationship early on, is like, we don't want to have the common marriage. We don't want to have the marriage where, oh, like the first year is going to be hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Which is horrible marriage advice, by the way.
Yeah.
We heard that a lot. Like, the first year is going to be the hardest, and then the third year, and then the fifth year. But for someone who's getting married, I don't feel like that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just, that was just a decision that we both made. And I don't know if it's just because marriage is just something we both desired and both were like just all in on, that made it easier for us. But it was, I don't know, it was just something about like this desire that we had to be married, to do it right, and for one another, like this love that we have for one another, that gave us this willingness that lasts till this day.
I honestly think, like, just thinking of like our story, and we would obviously have to walk you guys through that because it's a lot. But just thinking of our story, I truly believe that it's like the grace of God that we're even married, considering our backgrounds, considering the lack of examples that we have of what a healthy marriage looked like. But I know we wanted to create something. Like, just because we didn't see it didn't mean we couldn't create it. And we were so determined. Like we said from day one, like when we started discussing marriage and knew this is what we wanted, like, divorce is not an option. Like, we're doing this one time and we're going to be locked in like for the rest of our lives. So I think having that mindset, but I also think it was bigger than us, that the Lord truly did grace us for one another and graced us to be in a position to be able to set an example and be an example, which is what we're all called to do in terms of reflecting Christ. But specifically, it was a part of our calling that he called us to marriages. And so, and really allowing us to be that difference by living it out first. Because my thing is like, we're not going to have a marriage ministry and be over here sharing one thing, but living a different way. Like, no, we're going to live this thing out, and we're going to talk and share it for real from where we are authentically. And so that was, I think, a huge part of it. But for sure, we were committed. There was no doubt about that. There was no doubt you were committed to me long before you were committed before we were even in a relationship. Like, you knew, like, you was like, you gonna be my wife, It took me a while, but when I committed, there was no turning back. I was all in.
Yeah. But I even think with this idea of commitment, that there's this idea that because we're committed, we're going to be perfect and we're going to get it right all the time. Like, I know one of the things that has been, just on our journey, even like, of course we're committed to one another, but even like when it came to like other relationships with friends and things like that, like, it can be difficult when you're walking this journey of commitment with one another and learning how to do life with other people. There's this expectation that people have of you, just as a couple, as us as a couple, or other people as a couple, that it's almost as if like there's this expectation for you to be perfect because you are viewed as the example. And the hope, honestly, is that there is grace for, what I'm saying, like the grace for the party. So when we talk about like in relationships, like, because we aren't perfect, I think one of the things that makes it easy for us in our relationship is this grace that we extend one another.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know however you see it, but I feel like I feel like I mess up more than you do in our marriage.
No,
I
I
feel
don't
like
see that at
I
all.
feel like I mess up more. But you understanding me and you allowing me to be human, really, it gives me, it's like, dang, like, okay, I want to do better. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like I'm giving you this attitude, or like not wanting to talk because like I'm in my head, I'm somewhere, whatever, I'm irritated, whatever the case may be. But like when I come back to you and it's like, okay, like in that moment you just wanted to talk, and like I was full of myself in that moment, like, you know, forgive me. Like your willingness to forgive and say like I get it, whatever, and to move past that, like it makes like loving you easier. You know what I'm saying? And it makes like the commitment like, dang, like I'm glad I'm committed to who I am. You know what I'm saying? Because I would honestly, it would be hard. It would be hard. It would be hard to be committed. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's just this constant tension and a constant, you know what I'm saying? Like
I think
push.
part of that is like our wiring of who we are. And I just feel like how well we kind of mesh together in terms of like personality and stuff. But when I think about something you said is you feel like you mess up more than me, which I don't think so. I'm actually very hard on myself and very like critical. But I think it's what you choose to focus on in your commitment. So there's daily decision, daily choices, and there's times where you may have an off day or you may not be in the best mood or whatever that looks like. But I can choose to focus on that thing that will become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Or I can remind myself of who you are, who you've shown me that you are. It's like, no, like get out of your head, because I can get in my head and overthink too. But it's like, no, that's not who he is, you know? And so I think in
That's
reframing,
good though.
what?
That just reminding yourself of who I've shown myself to be.
Yeah, we all have off days. Like we're human, like you said, we're imperfect people. And understanding that there's grace for you to be human.
Yeah.
And not only that, just allowing the safe space for you to be who you are authentically. And I can't expect anybody to be on 100% of the time. You know what I mean? And in those moments, to meet you with grace and forgiveness will allow you to feel safer enough to be who you are.
Yeah.
And that's in the good or the bad, right? I did commit to for better or worse. And so even in the worst moments or the low moments, I'm still going to be right there.
Yeah.
And so I think even that just speaks to the daily decisions of how committed you are. Because like you said, it's not based me being committed to you. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to cook for you. I'm still going to hug you. I'm still going to greet you with the same excitement regardless of the mood that you may be in, right? Because I'm committed. But a lot of times we do make our commitment conditional based on what we're receiving. And when you think of Christ, like I said, it was never a conditional thing. He didn't even know that we would love him back or want him back. And still, a lot of people don't. And so, but he still died for us. So when you think about that level of commitment, this quote comes to mind. Commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left. You know how it is. In the beginning, you excited, you committed. New Year's resolutions, new marriage. You just vowed, you just committed to forever. And it's exciting. But when that excitement wears off, how committed are you?
Yeah.
Are you still committed? Like, am I still going to get up and work out when I don't feel like it, when I'm sick, you know? And so I feel like it's in those moments that really define your level of commitment.
Yeah, but that's powerful, because you just weeded out everybody who gets divorced. Like when it gets hard, and obviously like we're not, I don't think it's fair to say like, okay, being committed when you have means for leaving, you know what I'm saying? Like or
Biblical grounds, you mean? Like biblical grounds to divorce?
like infidelity, things like that. Like
Yeah.
but when it's just when it's just a matter of like I'm not happy, I think then is where a lot of people, even some that don't get divorced, like, and just stay together,
That's what I was thinking right now. Oh my gosh. I was thinking, like, let's not even just say divorce. What about the ones that are just surviving? Like, they're together, but there's no commitment. Because when you committed, there's a level of investment, right? There's proof of that commitment. And if you just roommating it up in the house, then your actions don't show that you're committed.
Yeah. And so when we talk about commitment, like there's this willingness of doing what needs to be done in order to stay committed.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I think about like people who just survive, or people who just coast, or people who just kind of throw in the towels, like, they get to a point of coasting, you know. And I was reading this book, I think it's called Take Your Marriage Back, I believe, by William Doherty, I think. And in the book, he was sharing this story about how, I forgot where he was, but he was like canoeing down this river. And he was talking about how the river, like, if you just go with the flow, the river is the canoe is just simply just coasting downhill. But if you want it to go uphill, like you have to give so much effort, and it costs you energy. And so what he was getting at was, if you just follow the trends, if you follow just the culture of America right now, where like we always want to get the newest car, we always want to get the newest iPhone, we always want the best. Like, we don't want to just get it. We don't want to repair it. We just want another one.
Replace it, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's more convenient to get another one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
less work.
And it's like, why would I pay money to get a new, or to repair this iPhone, when I got to pay the bill too? You know what I'm saying? And so there's this likeness that we have in marriage that reflects the culture of America. It's like, no, I don't want to work on it. I just want something else that's going to make me happy. I want something else that's not going to make me sad or make me upset, or something that's not going to be painful, or even somebody to call out where I'm struggling in marriage. Like, no, I don't want that. And so I'll just go somewhere else where I can stay surface level. I can stay shallow. Like, I can stay in the kiddie pool and not have to worry about diving deep.
Yep.
And so, like, there's this unwillingness to go against the grain, or go against the culture of like what's going on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so much so, like, because America's such a wonderful country, like, there's so many opportunities, there's so many things that we can achieve, and like the sky's the limit when it comes to all that. And literally, we treat marriage like it's business. And so now, if we don't benefit one another, now we have grounds for even like the grounds for divorce now. Like, we're talking about, okay, like, we're unhappy, so now we can't. Which I understand it, but like it's still frustrating to me, because now people just get out of it for the sake of getting out of it. Like, people go into marriage with reserves, and when you go into marriage with reserves, you're already setting a grounds for showing that you're not fully committed.
Yep.
And when you jump into a relationship like that, when you jump into a relationship saying like I'll marry you, but just know my kids are more important than you.
Ooh.
Like, I'll marry you, but just know, like, my money, not your money, because I work for this money. Like, I'll marry you, but just know I'm not going to give all of me to you, because I've been hurt before, and so you only get a piece of me. Like, when you jump into marriage with that mindset,
it won't work.
It won't. And oftentimes you don't see that it's not working. You just see that when it's happy, like, it is working. But the moment you have an argument, you don't look at that as a way to get closer, or an opportunity to get closer, or an opportunity to be more one. You see that as, oh, we're not compatible. When in reality, compatibility can be conditional. It depends on what your focus is. Like, if you get married for money, like, somebody who don't have money and somebody who got money, you're compatible.
True.
Like, if you get married for sex, like, somebody who has a high sex drive is compatible with somebody else who might have a high sex drive.
But the thing is, even with that, like with the examples you just gave, think about it. Like, we're going to evolve. We're going to go through things, women, men alike in life. So even if you met someone that was quote unquote compatible, live long enough with them. There's going to come some seasons where you don't feel as compatible with them if that's what you are letting define your level of commitment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're evolving, we're changing. Like, there's going to be a time, like, women go through things, premenopause, monthly cycles. Lord Jesus, not weekly, monthly cycles, postpartum, children.
Listen, the women said, "Nah, I rebuke that."
I know.
Nah, we ain't having no
Why
weekly
is all
cycle.
the women though that have to go through all these struggles? No, but anyways, there is a lot that we have to deal with, and there's going to be those moments where it may require more of you on your level of commitment. So my thing, I seen this question on Instagram, and it was like, do you think that a relationship or a marriage is 50-50? And I'm like, no, it's 100-100. Like, you got to give 100%, and I got to give 100%. And I didn't marry you because you were half a man and I was going to complete you. Like, you came to me complete already. You know what I mean? And so I really believe that it's 100-100. But I think where we go wrong is we go into this commitment and it's more of a self-centeredness instead of a selflessness. Like, we're still here to serve one another, right?
Yeah.
Like, Christ didn't even come to be served. He came to serve. This is the example. Marriage is to be reflective of that. And so I think that's another reason in terms of a hindrance to commitment that I see as an issue. And I wanted to throw that to you. Like, what are some hindrances that you see to commitment? Maybe you've heard about, things you've witnessed, especially as a therapist, because I know you hear a lot.
I think one is an unwillingness to let go of pain.
Ooh.
Because when you think about being hurt, nobody necessarily likes to be hurt unless it's something that deals with something that has a benefit later. Like, for example, like we as athletes put ourselves through physical pain because we know that there's a certain way we want to perform, there's a certain way we want our bodies to look.
Results, that's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so there's the pain of that. But when you talk about like physical pain, heartache, things like that, naturally our bodies want to, like, it's designed in such a way that it wants to protect itself. Like our bodies literally are designed to keep like a certain level of like peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, when your body's fighting a cold, like, it's doing the opposite of what's going on in your body so it can try to fight it off. When you're cold, you know what I'm saying? Like, you might shiver because your body's trying to like bring heat. You know what I'm saying? So your body naturally, it has a way of trying to balance. So when it experiences like pain, your body's saying like, okay, we are on like high alert for pain. So now there's a sensitivity that we can see in other areas that we can start to not like get close to it. The only way I can think of saying it, like, for example, like if
you hurt me, then I'm going to almost like repel against you and not want to come close to you because you're the one that hurt me. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like, I think we was talking yesterday and we were just kind of talking about how, like, if there's something that like I want to share with you that I want to be vulnerable about, like, it's already like, if I share with you, like, I give you like free reins to do it, what I just said. Cause now, like, I'm not holding it anymore. Now you have it.
Yeah.
Depending on what you do with that situation whatever I just shared with you, like, that can be difficult for me to share it again if it was mishandled.
Okay.
And so if you think about that and you think about like whether it was currently in a relationship or a relationship prior to when you got married, like, that can make it difficult. I think another thing, what was your question? I forgot what the question was.
Hindrances.
Oh,
Why is it hard to commit? What are some things you see that make it hard for couples to commit?
I think, I don't know. I think the selfishness that you brought up was big. And I think because we can be a selfish people, I think because
by nature, yeah,
like the focus is on like self, I think that makes it hard to commit. Because when you think about it, let's just say like, like we hear it all the time. Like men who go to the gym or women who go to the gym, you hear it more so with men. But let's just say men go to the gym and like you hear about like a man going to the gym stepping out on his wife or whatever. Like sometimes men go to the gym because they like to see like all the activity, all the women, all that stuff. Like there's more freedom. And when you think about being in that space, like what makes it hard to commit is the fact of like when I'm there, like I don't carry my spouse with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And not even in a literal sense, but like subconsciously. Because when you commit, like there's this idea that like when I go to certain places, I'm going to make certain decisions with my wife in mind or with my husband in mind. So when I go to the gym, like you're going to notice people, but when you start getting to a space, and this is more introspective on the person, like when you start getting to a space of like wanting to take a double look or like that whatever you just seen, whether it's butt, whether it's legs, whatever your deal is, feet, hands, I don't know. Like whatever your thing is, like once it starts turning over in your brain and now like it's starting to be stuck there, like you gotta bring your spouse back to mind. Like, and I think gratitude is one of the ways to do that. Like, Lord, I thank you for my wife. Like, I thank you that I got somebody faithful at the house. I thank you that I got somebody who works hard for me to be able to come back, to be able to go to the gym and then take care of the kids, doing what I want to do. Like, Lord, I thank you that like I don't have to deal with some of the issues that singles have to deal with. Thank you that I don't have to deal with infidelity, whatever the case may be. Like gratitude, it'll bring you back to a place of like recentering your mind, because oftentimes and I guess one of the other ways to answer your question is social media.
Yeah,
like social media makes it difficult because now you have access to everything that you want. You know
even got to go to the gym. It's right there.
Exactly.
And whatever you give attention to, the way the algorithm is or whatever with Instagram, it'll feed you stuff that you don't even follow, but let you stop and look and click on a video, then it's going to continue to feed you that. Yeah. And I think that's huge because you were saying of like carrying your spouse subconsciously in mind. And in those moments, I feel like it's like, okay, wifey over here, let me look at her. Oh, what she got on? Let me look a little bit more. Let me go to her page now. You know what I mean? And I feel like we take the bait of Satan in terms of temptation. Like we literally walk into those things and then we find ourselves being tripped up and the enemy getting a foothold in our marriages. But it's truly in those small daily decisions of what you do. I know that there was a time where like someone that I used to know like the old comment of mine, and it's like blocked. Like I'm not giving. That's how committed I am. I'm not giving room to the enemy. And now I know
you savage.
I am, because I will. You just chop that thing right on off. You let that thing, simmer a little bit, and it'll become something bigger.
Yeah.
So I feel like it has the ability to do that. But I value you in our marriage, in our commitment. For one, my commitment to you, but it was my commitment to God. Like we in a 3-strand cord. We're in a covenant. And so because of that, I don't allow anything to come in. Like you be on my page and not have your shirt on, you definitely getting blocked. Like, you know what I mean? So your level of commitment, it sounds extreme, but when you see how easy it is, I remember reading this book of like how to affair proof your marriage. And it's in those little things. Like usually it's a lack. And I think this is why people would say it's hard to commit, but if there's a lack in some area in the marriage, then they get tripped up because if they're at work or talking to a friend or whatever that has something that the wife or the husband is lacking, then they just ease right on into it. You know what I mean? So let's say that we're married, but emotionally you're not meeting my needs. But over here, she sees me, she's affirming me at work, and then, now our hands touch accidentally while we reach down to pick up something, and then that's literally how quick.
You watch a lot of movies.
I'm not kidding though. It literally is that's how easy it is if you open the door for it. You can't leave a door even cracked. And so I think social media is huge in that way. And another way is in comparison, like comparing what you have to somebody else's marriage. And I always say the grass is green where you water it. And I seen someone
Yeah.
say, like, they got turf over there anyways. Like, it ain't even real. Social media ain't even real. And you over there comparing, what you have to them. You know what I'm saying? And so it's never what it appears to be. But if you can invest in your own marriage, then you will benefit from the fruit of that. And there's always going to be a good return on your investment.
Yeah. And I think to touch on something you said as far as like the temptation, like we think temptation is going to come in an obvious, like against you type of way.
Yeah.
When in reality, you're tempted by what you already have a desire for, in a sense.
Ooh, that's good.
And so, seriously though, think
No,
about
it is. It's true.
So before I met you,
Go on and preface that.
Let me preface that. Before I met you, I used to love to go to the club. I used to love to go to the club with a specific purpose, to see how many numbers I can get. Literally, whenever I like whatever.
So what you're saying is you were a thought. You were
No,
a playboy.
I wasn't a thought. I was a number getter. And what happened
a number
after
getter
that,
is not a thing.
What happened after that happened after that.
Lord.
No, so
thank God for grace and salvation.
Yes. So when I went to the club, like it just did something to my body. Like it made me feel good. It made me want to dance. It just put me in that particular mindset. And so, like, I think I started clubbing when I was like, I mean, we had teen clubs. So
Dang.
I think
That's crazy.
as soon as I mean, legit, you can call our 8th grade dance like a teen dance too.
Well,
it was more structured.
Where you're from and the
it
way
was
they
more
dance.
structured. But so when you think like 14 all the way,
It's young.
you know what I'm saying, till I would say 2013. I don't even know how old I was then, but when you think about that, like over and over and over going to like those places, like having those same thoughts, it would be stupid if I now go back to that same place. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I like the environment, because where I grew up from, that's just something that's close to home. Like going back to a club, going back to a space where it feels like a club, that's temptation for me.
Right.
And so I have to understand that like temptation is not something where like I'm not going to be tempted to do something I don't want to do. Like that's in anybody's case.
Yeah.
And when we get as close to that line as we can, what we're doing is we're disregarding our boundaries. And when it comes to commitment, like we're really like trying to put ourselves in a lose-lose situation to see how committed we are. Like commitment isn't like, okay, I'm gonna get as close as I can to fall and see how strong I am.
Right.
No, commitment is saying like, no, I understand what's going to make me fall. I understand what's going to make me step out of my marriage. I understand what's going to be the cause of me tearing my family apart. And so because I'm aware of that, because I can like it don't even take a rocket scientist to look in the future and say like, okay, if you do this, like it's going to tear your family up.
Right.
Like, because I know that, I'm going to stay as far away from it as I can, because I don't want to give you any question in your mind about like my loyalty to you. And not only do I love you, not only do I love God, and I really do my best to try to honor him in the way I live, but I also love and respect myself.
Yeah.
I understand that a lot of the things that have happened to me as far as blessing wise, I know that it has been attached to decisions I've made prior. And I know that it comes with a specific type of reputation. Once I start making decisions that go against that reputation, like it's going to show. Like I can't be integrity, or I can't lack integrity in the dark and expect like integrity in the light to get me everywhere that I'm supposed to go. No,
all
because what's done in the dark comes to the light. And so with that in mind, like it's important to understand like the temptations that we have as people.
Yeah, I think that's really good, because I don't know what it is about us. We want to get as close to the fire as we can, but expect to not get burnt. And so I think to your point, commitment is, of course, it's committing in what you're going to do, you know, in terms of those daily decisions, but it's also the boundaries that you set to protect that commitment. And so, with that being said, what are some practical ways that we daily commit to each other, and maybe even some boundaries, if you could think of any, that helps you to be committed with what you just said? I mean, social media is huge. There's girls dancing, clubbing, whatever, and you're still friends with a lot of people, not like literal friends, but meaning like Facebook, Instagram, social media, with a lot of people that you grew up with. So how do you balance that in terms of your commitment and then the temptation that is real and is there?
That's a great question. Honestly, I think my daily routine kind of keeps me from that. So I wake up, on let's just say ideal day, because there are days where it is more difficult, to stick to the routine. But I wake up, um, I spend time with God. I usually work out. Right now, I'm training for a marathon, so I get up after I spend time with God. I run. After that, me and you will spend our time together. After that, we'll get the kids ready. The kids get them set for school. After that, I'm on my way to work. From there, like I see clients in their hour sessions. Basically, like I don't like falling behind on case noting, so in between sessions I do note taking. um by the time all that's done, I'm driving.
I'm all, you ain't, it's not like you ain't got the time to be
You know what
to
I'm
give
saying?
into
Like by the
temptation.
by
Yeah.
the by the time like I'm done, like I'm on my way home. And so usually, like obviously I do my best to be safe while I'm driving. One thing I do while I drive is I try to talk to people I might not talk to on the regular. So like I'll call my mom, I'll call my niece, I'll talk to one of my friends
Which
that I haven't talked to.
that's our niece on his shirt, because
Oh
y'all
yeah.
probably like, who is this woman on his shirt? That's our niece,
Yeah,
Lene.
my beautiful niece. So I usually will try to talk to somebody that I haven't got a chance to talk to because of how busy I am.
Yeah, you
And
are
so
busy.
usually my day starts like that. Now, obviously there are times where like I might be home, like I spend time with y'all and I'm just like just chilling, and like I do, I might mindless scroll or whatever.
Yeah.
Like for me right now, I am into I'm into rap battles. So I mean, I'll watch a rap battle, or I like getting motivated. So my motivation really comes from other speakers. With me being a therapist and me, traveling the country speaking, I like looking at what other people are doing, because like seeing their success is like, man, like they killing it.
Yeah.
I can do that too. And so from there, it's like that's what my mind is like. My mind is pretty much occupied. Like I thrive off of like structure. I thrive off
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
routine. And so I think sticking to what I know works best for me to be successful, especially having goals on where I want to, go in life. I think that for me personally helps guard my mind.
That's good, because I think part of your morning routine, you start with, your time with the Lord, which I think is key, right? And for one, covering yourself, covering your family, your day, and other people, as I'm sure you're praying. But I think that's a part of it too, because in in a sense, to not have prayer is like going to battle without having your armor on. And so I believe that's the way that the Lord keeps you, what you see, what you hear, and vice versa. But I also think you said something in terms of like you're motivated by speakers. And so you look at them and their success and what they have going on, not in an envious way, but in a way that gives you motivation that, like, yeah, I can do this too. But the powerful thing in that is, in a sense, is it's a form of mentorship and who you surround yourself around. And I think that's key in your level of commitment, because if you're committed, but you're hanging around single people that don't have that same level of commitment, and that's in the clubs and that's doing all of that, and they trying to drag you to come along with them, it'll be hard for you to fight that temptation, or to keep your boundary to those commitments. Or if you are married, because not all people honor marriage in the way that God has called us to, and that's biblical for you to honor the covenant of marriage. Then you can be hanging around someone that doesn't have that same level of commitment or boundaries, that's like have a wife and a girlfriend or a few girls on the side or whatever. But if that's what you're hanging around, you are who you hang around, right? And so
Yeah.
you will find yourself becoming more lenient in those walls of that home, that trust and commitment. You will begin to find them, wavering in terms of that. And I think that's a part of your commitment too, is who you hang yourself around. And I know for you, the men that you listen to, they're really big on like faith, family, marriage, financial freedom, like those things. And so obviously as a man of God, you exemplify those things because of what you listen to and what you're looking at. I think that's huge. But temptation is gonna come knocking, um, for anybody, right? Like we're not exempt from temptation, but that's why the Lord tells us to stay prayerful and watchful and on alert. But I want to say that when the temptation comes, because there's moments where, let's say, I've had a random dream, and we've shared this concept in a workshop that we host of like exposing the enemy and not letting that, like, if you're like, look, I just had this weird thought, or this girl just tried to get my number, or whatever it is. A lot of times we see that as something that's innocent, and then we don't share it with our spouse, which I believe that the greatest thing we can do is to come together and to pray. And so there's times where I had to expose the enemy, and I'm like, I need you to pray for me because I know this ain't me, I think that's also important. Or even in the moments where it's like, I looked at a girl like twice today, you know what I mean? Like creating a safe space for you to be human, because you are a man and you are visual, but to be able to share that with me and me not take offense to it or like jealousy or whatever, because I know that we have a real adversary. Now I know, like, okay, if the enemy is trying to attack you in this way or in your mind with these dreams or whatever it is, then I can guard and pray for you in that way as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge for us to remain our level of integrity and commitment to one another.
Yeah. And I'll share this and then we can get to the marriage emotion challenge.
Yes, yes.
But I think specifically what helps me when it comes to temptation is I have, and let's just say even when it comes to like objectifying women, like one of my prayers is, God, help me see your people how you see your people.
That's good, honey.
Help me see them as being made in your image. Help me see them as like your daughters. Help me see them as like image bearers, as your word says in Genesis.
That's good.
And so I think that helps me view people as in a different way. And I think the second part of that, you briefly mentioned it, but I believe is Matthew 26:41 maybe, where it says where Jesus is talking to his disciples about not falling asleep.
Yeah.
And he says, watch and pray so that you don't fall into temptation. And then he goes on to say, because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Yeah.
And so to not fall into temptation, he's instructing his disciples, those who he brought with him on the, to the Garden of Gethsemane, to be watchful and to be prayerful. Like, to be watchful, give attention, and like expect, like anticipate like these things that could happen. Like, I need you to be watchful. I need you to be mindful of these things, and also be prayerful. You know what I'm saying? Like Lord, Lord, help me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's in the garden and he's praying like Lord, if this, like, I don't want this cup.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it pass, let it pass. But if not, thy will be done. Like, obedience, commitment says that if we are going to ride this thing out to the end, then thy will be done. Lord, give me the strategy. Lord, give me what to do so I can remain obedient in the moments that can cause me to turn away from you. And he's telling them to be watchful and prayerful. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't fall asleep. But then there's also when they were going to be scattered, when he was going to be crucified. Like, in those moments, like, we have to be, committed. So those are the two things I do. Like, Lord, help me see your people how you want to see them, and then help me, and then be watchful and prayerful for what my temptations are.
And I think that's really good when dealing with commitment, because like I said, we're committed to one another, but we're committed to Christ first. And I think when we are prayerful and covering our spouse is going to help us in the way that we view them with praying that prayer. Just help me to see your people, my wife, my husband, the way that you have created them. That's going to help us as well. So those small things that makes us feel we're not incompatible or we're not compatible don't become bigger things, you know? I think we touched on so much. I mean, so many good nuggets. Please share this with someone you know that can benefit from it and can just... So many gems were dropped, honey. You shared a lot of good things, and I know it's gonna bless the people, and I can't wait. Now it's time for our marriage in motion. We need a whole song for that. But anyways, our marriage in motion moment, which I love because this is a time where we help you guys with practical steps on how you can walk this out, right? We consume so much content. And we wanted to give you practical things for you to do and actually like live this out and apply what it is that we are talking about so that you can move the needle in your marriage. Yes. And of course, as these things compound, the weekly things that we are giving you for our marriage in motion challenges, then you're going to gain that momentum and you are going to see yourself thriving in your relationship. And so for this week's marriage in motion moment, I want you to take a moment and sit down with your spouse and discuss three things that why you choose them daily. Yes. And what does that commitment look like? So I choose you because we said commitment is a daily decision that we have to make. So what are three reasons why you choose them daily and you are committed to your marriage? Make sure you both share with one another, and we would love to hear about it as well. DM us, share how you are liking this marriage. No, seriously challenge.
Though, like share with us because we would love to hear that because it's power in sharing like what you go through and what you commit to with other people because now you get people to hold you accountable.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that in mind, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Yes. If you found this helpful, and share with somebody who needs to have the conversation of commitment.
Yes.
And until next time, stay easy.
And thriving after the altar, y'all. You can do it.
You can.
We still do.
Peace.
Always gonna love you and always. No doubt you're my blessing. Ain't no second guessing. No one can separate. We find a good thing. Even after the altar, it's marriage in motion.